How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Album on the Table, where we take an album that we love, put it on the table, and leave it open for discussion and talk about it, about how it impacted us, influenced us, and why you should check it out too.
So what are we going to talk about today, Sean?
I thought the first and probably best thing to talk about would be 9 Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral. I think that's a pretty easy one for us to get started on this.
All right.
Do you remember at all when you first heard anything off The Downward Spiral?
I mean, I'm sure I had heard. There's a difference between hearing something just in the air, it's in the grocery store, it's in the mall, and actually listening to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like active listening and passive listening.
I have that with like almost everything 90s, because I always kind of think to myself, I probably heard it from my cousin because he was a teenager when all this stuff was coming out, and I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, so I missed all the cool stuff. So I always think to myself, well, I probably heard that from Harley. And
I know what you mean, yeah.
you always have that like older person in your family that listens to the cool stuff. So he probably listened to it. But I do remember like actually being aware of this album probably around the time like 11, 12 when I started playing. Because I had started watching like MTV and VH1. And there was some like weird countdown that they did on one of those channels where it was like the 100 greatest hard rock songs of all time, and of course Closer was on the list in some form. And I just remember them talking about the music video and how in order to get it to play on MTV, they had to cut out scenes from the original cut of the music video, and they would just replace it with blank frames of film. And I kind of was like, you get into that young teenage rebellious phase, and so you're kind of thinking to yourself, okay, I need to find this because everything sucks, and everything pop music, rage, and all these kind of things.
I don't think I've ever seen the music video. I have no idea what it is.
I think we're gonna have to find it. We're gonna have to watch it.
No idea.
Yeah, but I got this was the version of the album that I bought was this deluxe edition. So it was like the 10th anniversary, I think is what I remember it being. And believe it or not, my dad bought it for me.
Oh, this actually has 2 discs.
Yeah, it's the first disc is the full album, and then the second disc is B-sides, remixes.
I see demos.
Yeah. It's cool to kind of listen to some of the demos and like see, because a couple of them are actually...
Oh, so Closer was actually called Closer to God.
Well, there's actually a remix of it called Closer to God. Like one of the remix albums that they did after The Downward Spiral is called Closer to God, which I do have. But yeah, my dad bought me this. I remember buying it with him. And I remember finding it and seeing it, and it was on sale at Best Buy. It was like $10. I'm like, man, I really want this, but there's no way I'm walking out of Best Buy. Because my parents were like really strict with what I could listen to. So if it had a parental advisory sticker on it, like I couldn't touch it. I couldn't listen to it. So I semi-groveled for it, semi-begged for it. It was like, yeah, a bunch of people say that this guy is really talented, and I want to listen to it. I want to learn from it. And I just remember him buying it for me. We got in the car, and he's like, just don't tell your mother.
Wait, don't you have another one of these too?
Yeah.
That's not the deluxe version?
I have 3 versions.
Oh, wow.
I have the deluxe version that I originally bought. And then this led me into a downward spiral of collecting everything, like every official 9 Inch Nails release. So I got the deluxe edition. I found a copy of the Downward Spiral from when it was originally issued. So like that slimmer case that I have, that's the one. And then when it came out on vinyl, when they reissued it on vinyl, I bought it on vinyl. This probably is the one album that I own almost every single format of physical music for, except cassette. But I think there's
Nobody should own cassettes. They have no reason to still exist. It's fine when they happened, but please don't put music out on cassette now. Just why?
Okay, well, now that you've gotten on there, so
Well, I didn't listen to Nine Inch Nails till in college. My roommate Adrian at the time, she was really, really into Nine Inch Nails. And, yeah, so...
Oh, she took you to that year zero thing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, so she burned me every Nine Inch Nails album that there was, so I could listen to them in the car.
And then you became...
And then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like...
Is there actually 9 nails in this album art there?
There might be. I don't know.
There's more than 9.
There's more than 9. Yeah, I know this is like the album that broke them, and this is the album that most people will buy purely for the fact that they want to listen to Closer, or as, you know, popular parlance, the Fuck You Like an Animal song.
See, I don't really like the song Closer.
You're like the only person.
Yeah. I don't know, it's a little too electronic for me. Just like the kind of electronic beat behind it. Mm-hmm. It's fine, but that's definitely, to me, not the best song on the album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just remember really liking, from moment one, like when I put the CD in, like of course, like at the time, going into my room with the Walkman or the Discman, putting on the over-ear headphones, and then like starting it up, and that like beginning of Mr. Self-Destruct starts, and it was just like, what the hell am I listening to? And then not only that, like the weird outro guitar thing, like I spent months trying to figure out what the hell that was. And when I finally figured out what it was like, oh my god, why can't I do things like this? I would say this album is probably the one that got me interested the most in the idea of using the recording studio as an instrument in and of itself.
The rest of the lyrics.
Yeah, they're on there. Because it feels like to me every time I listen to this that there's always something different that I discover. Whether it's like something really low in the mix or some lyric that I finally am able to understand. Yeah, I always feel like I get something new out of this album every time I listen to it. Even if it's like the only album in the car. I feel like there's something new every time. But I definitely am with you. Like, Closer is one of those songs, like, okay, it got Nine Inch Nails to the point where, you know, mainstream people were aware of them. But there are so many songs on there that are just...
My favorite's definitely Ruiner.
Oh yeah, you love that solo, don't you? Yeah.
I love it. It's like, I don't know, the perfect guitar solo. It's...
Probably played by somebody who would not be considered a guitar player by most guitar players.
Who played that guitar solo?
I think Trent did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Trent, good job on the guitar solo for Ruiner. It's probably one of my top 5 guitar solos of all time. Maybe top 3. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if I've actually ordered my
we can chill now.
Guitar solos. Yeah, and then, I mean, I know I said Closer's too electronic. Maybe it's too standard. I expect what's coming. Because I really like Reptile. Mm-hmm. And that's very electronic, like...
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But Reptile's my definitely other favorite song.
Yeah.
Out of this.
I mean, personally, for me,
I really like the rhythm in Reptile.
Yeah, it's just kind of lumbering.
Dun-ka-dun-ka-dun.
Yeah, I get you.
It has a cool rhythm.
Mm-hmm. I just appreciate that on this album there's a song in 7/4.
What song is in 7/4?
March of the Pigs. It's always funny to go to the shows because, like, what? I've seen it like 3 times now. And it's always funny when they play that song to watch the whole crowd try to stay with it, and nobody can stay with it. I don't know, I just find it funny.
I've always wondered, though, why there's 2 songs featuring pigs on this album. Because I really like Piggy. I don't really like March of the Pigs so much, but I really like Piggy.
Well, I also love Eraser. That's one of my favorites.
I think A Warm Place, I think definitely Nine Inch Nails has done something for me in the fact that, I know this sounds horrible, but I don't really like instrumental music. Give me some words. Give me something I can relate to.
But their instrumentals almost are, when they put them in, they're essential pieces to the whole.
Because this song, A Warm Place, it's just is kind of a nice lull.
That's that point of the album where we were driving to rehearsal the other day, and we're sitting in the car with Zach, and like the music just stopped. And it was either you or him, I can't remember. One of you said, like, is something wrong with the CD? And it's like, no, this is the point of the album where everything gets really quiet.
I think it was just because the road driving gets so loud, and then you don't realize, whoa, dynamics. It actually really came down.
That's another point. Like, this album, in and of itself, goes through so many different dynamic changes, and it shifts and all that stuff. I mean, it to me, what this album is it's a education in album structure as much as it is songwriting. And I feel like oftentimes when I listen to this, you can't just listen to one song. You just have to start and finish. Like, Closer's a good song. Hurt is a great song. March of the Pigs is great. Piggy is great. Eraser, Ruiner. But you can't just be skipping all over the album to try to get to the songs that you like better. I have to listen to this straight through. So if I stop, I pick up right where I left off. And I feel like doing that, I get so much more from it than just if I were to choose like 5 songs from here and just put those on like a mix.
Hurt is definitely a great song. As I said the other day, though, it does feel like almost an afterthought to me. And it's almost surprising that it comes up, because you kind of feel like, well, the album ends with the downward spiral, and then, ooh, there's a surprise at the end. And it's a beautiful surprise. So it's so interesting that Hurt is on this album, and as the closing piece. And actually, this is pretty cool, but I just realized that Trent mixed this as well, that's pretty awesome, because it's such a kind of naked song.
Yeah.
To get that mix right is very tricky.
I did not realize that.
This is why physical media is good. You can read all the little liner notes. Things you never knew.
So, yeah, this is kind of the... if someone were to ask me what's the first Nine Inch Nails album I should buy, I would definitely tell them this one. Even though, for me, I like the Fragile just a little bit more than I like the Downward Spiral, this is probably, in my mind, the best laid out and produced album of its time and since. I have not heard an album that seems like there was so much thought put into it. From the songwriting to the production to the way that the songs move into one another. I mean, the artwork in and of itself, too, is something really... It's mixed media, photography of mixed media. So somebody that was a very visual artist had to put this together, and then somebody had to photograph it. As a total package, for me, this is probably
I'm
the
just
best
seeing if it's
package.
the same kind of stuff or if it's different or.
Yeah, for the most part, it is. The
I
same.
like the feathers.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, this
What's
album.
in the feathers you mean, Trent? Tell us.
They're just feathers.
Just feathers.
Just accept them as feathers. So yeah, that's how I feel about this one. Just well put together, well thought out, and when you listen, you feel. I guess the attachment comes from feeling like somebody actually put some thought and effort and time and passion into it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to this alternate version album on here.
So, yeah, there it is, everybody. Downward Spiral. Check it out. Definitely a big time influencer.
I put it in backwards, but
Good job. You just messed up my ending. Ah!